Beautiful people, good morning. It's your girl, Dr. Shonna STN.
Yo, 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 yo.
We're going to talk about the Black family, the strengths of the Black family, where it was at least in the 70s and where we are right now. So I'm going to go over some things briefly in an article that I am researching. And the reason why I say briefly is because I haven't fully done all of my research concerning it, because this is from the 70s. So I want to compare it to what's going on in the current days. Y'all know how I am. When I decide to teach, I get really, really deep. So I just want to make sure that y'all know I'm just breezing over this topic today. So there's an article that I'm examining. And the name of the article, Lord Jesus, is by Dr. Robert Hill. And I always give you guys the names of things. I want y'all to look it up too, so that y'all won't just take my word from it. Do your own research. But the name of the article is an old article. It was written in 1972. It is by Dr. Robert B. Hill. Dr. Robert B. Hill, and it says the strengths of the Black family. And what he went to do for this, he wrote this article for the National Center for Research and Information on Equal Educational Opportunity. And this was written and it was published from Teachers College of Columbia University. And it published actually in 1973, although it was written in 1972. And what he aimed to do in this article was to highlight 5 strengths that he finds in African American families. And the reason why he was highlighting the strengths, because he felt if we know what the strengths are in the families, in African American families, then we will know where the weaknesses are, and we would know what we need to do in order to strengthen the weaknesses of Black families. Dr. Robert Hill, his first strength that he recognized in 1972 was strong kinship bonds. Strong kinship bonds. And he's basically saying that Black people, a great strength that we have is that we are all connected. And guess what? Even if we're not family, like blood, biological families, we have such a unique fabric about us that we have cousins that ain't our cousins, right? We got aunties and uncles that aren't our aunties and uncles, but we consider everyone family. And so with that strong kinship bond, we're able to pull through a lot of difficult things that happens to us in our life. And in fact, like Dr. White, and I will go over Dr. White a little bit later, he was talking about the seven major strengths of African Americans. See, Dr. Hill said 5. Dr. White identified 7, but in relationship to their 2 different articles, how Dr. White, who came later, he talked about resiliencies, right, and connectedness with others. Those are 2 different strengths he gives. And Dr. Hill is saying the strong kinship bonds. So that's pretty much one and the same. But here's the thing that I see in 2018, and I'm pretty sure beyond. Hey, Addie, how you doing, beautiful? This is the one thing. I know growing up, it was major for us to have strong kinship bonds, right? Everybody on my block, we all knew each other. And this just wasn't for descendants of slaves or those of us of African descent, like you and most of us, like, me and you and stuff like that. This also included others who were of color, right? They were melanated folks, but they may have not shared all of our same bloodline, right? So on my block, when we was growing up, we all took care of each other, no matter what. So when you see my family line, and a lot of my family line and associates are of Hispanic, they're of a Hispanic background, is because in the neighborhood and where I grew, we were like family. We were all connected. You can knock on anyone's door and get a meal to eat. You can knock on anyone's door and use their phone, or stay in their house when your mother was not home or your father was not home and you didn't have a way to get into your apartment. You can just chill out at their houses until mommy or uncle or grandma, whomever, came home, and they would take care of you. They would make sure your homework was done. They would make sure you had something to eat. They would make sure that you were okay. okay and that their children treated you fairly in the house. What I mean is, if there weren't enough toys to go around, then nobody's playing with any damn toys. You understand what I'm saying? And these are the things that actually happened in our families. And then you want to talk about our own bloodline families. Forget about our neighbors for a second. Our bloodline family, we have people who used to drop off their kids when they were babies and never come back. They never came back to get their children. And we didn't call Child Protection Services to come get the kids out of the house. We just took on that role, and we make sure the child continue to go to school, and we make sure we continue to do the child's hair and to buy them clothes and give them food to eat, and to get their insurance cards, to take them to the doctors, to make sure that their health was being monitored and their teeth were being taken care of. We did these things. So yes, in that aspect, in 1972, 1973, 1985, and even maybe 1990, we had those strong kinship bonds. But here's what I'm noticing right now with so many of our families, and it's really disappointing to me. It's very heartbreaking to me that I see so many of our families right now in 2018 where they can care less what the other person is doing. Instead, if you see a child that is in need and they need some guidance and they need love, they need mentorship, they need connection, they need affection. Instead of bringing that child into the home, what I'm seeing right now, and this is not in all Black families, but this is in too many of us in our areas. What I'm seeing right now is they're looking at those children and they're talking about them, and they're talking about their parents, and they're talking about their relatives or whatever the case is. Instead of them helping them, they're gossiping about them. Nobody wants to take care of the next person's child, whether they're family or their friends, associates. If something happens and somebody gets caught up on drugs or they lose their house or whatever the case is, they look as though your problem is not my problem. You take care of that problem on your own. So we have so many of our children entering into child welfare systems. We have so many of our children getting pregnant young, getting kicked out of their homes. We have so many of our children in residential treatment facilities, and we have so many of our children in juvenile detention halls. So when we had a strong kinship bond back in 1972, according to this article, what do we have right now? In so many of our families, it's so hard for us to even look at each other and love each other. We want to criticize one another and talk about other people's children. So one thing that used to be a strength when I was growing up has become a weakness in the African American community. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. I see this happen too often, especially since I spent so many years in the Child Protection Service system, so many years as a government worker, so many years as an investigator, going into urban communities primarily, right? Because the suburban communities used to get lawyered up, so you couldn't just go into their communities without facing their attorneys. But in our urban communities, in our low income communities, you could pretty much run through those communities and do whatever the hell you want to do to the people, and nothing's going to happen to you. And that's unfortunate, and that should not be happening. So we need to get back to having that strong kinship bond, because that was a strength of the African American. And because of that strength, we manage to take better care of the people in our community, and we manage to take better care of our communities as a whole. So I'm not going to be going over this all the time with you guys, and I only have but so much time left on my clock, but I wanted to give you guys some highlights, because I'm going to come back on when I get my lunch break, because I'm seeing people back to back, and we're going to have a more in-depth conversation. The second strength that Dr. Robert Hill identified in that article I told you to read, The Strength of Black Families, written in 1972, published in 1973 by Columbia University Teachers College. The second strength, he said, was strong work orientation. Strong work orientation. And basically what he said is, basically no matter what was going on in our households or in our communities, we were working. We were working, and we had a strong work ethic. We had a strong work ethic. We were out there, we were doing what we had to do to survive and to take care of our homes. To take care of homes. And also another thing is, we made greater economic gains during that time. We would strive to purchase a home. We would strive to purchase a car. We would strive to do certain things. We took pride in our communities. You could go in and you could see neighborhood gardens during that time. I remember growing up and there were neighborhood gardens and the people would come from the community and they would take care of it. So not only did we have a strong work ethic or a strong work orientation, it didn't just apply to employment. It also applied to how we took care of our communities. Am I the only one that noticed this? We took care of it. We took care of it. Even if we lived in an apartment building with multiple apartments, we didn't just let things get dirty in our building. We would see the people come out sweeping the hallway floors, mopping the hallway floors. If it was the holiday season, not only did we decorate our apartment door, but we might decorate our neighbor's apartment door. We did things. We had children going through the community to mow the lawns to make sure that everybody's lawn was looking appropriately. We didn't throw garbage on our streets. We threw it in the trash receptacle. We did things a lot differently during that time. So I sit back and I think about what's going on right now in 2018, and I take my time and I travel from state to state to state, different communities, visiting a lot of the urban communities, and you know what I see? I see people who don't take a pride in their properties, and that really bothers me. I see people who do not take a pride in how they manage their neighborhood. Am I lying? Am I lying? You guys let me know. Because in the places that I have visited, I can almost tell anytime when the neighborhood transfers over from those who allegedly have to those who allegedly do not have. I see it's a quick change no matter where you go. And my God, don't go down a Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard in any hood. My Lord. I mean, that man must be rolling over in his grave how some of the communities look living on King Boulevard. I mean, it is ridiculous. Do you understand? So I sit back and I say to myself, what has happened to us? Once upon a time, this was a strength. And now it is turning into a weakness. A weakness. Right? So it's like I don't even know if we're really thinking about that stuff anymore. And then you could tell even when it comes to employment, back in the days, during the times as I was growing up, and I'm pretty sure even before then, with our work ethics, everybody worked. Like my mother was somebody used to say to us, the minute we got of working age, we couldn't just stay in the house and not have a job. We couldn't do that. My mother made us work. She made us work. And she made us save our money. And she made us buy, listen to this, people, she made us buy our school supplies. She made us buy our sneakers. She made us buy things that we wanted as long as we was having money come in. And she developed that work ethic within us. Now, this is a mother of mine who after she was not able to work, because she used to work, my mom used to work, and then she got sick and her health really started to deteriorate. And that happened early on. That happened, I would say, I was maybe in 7th grade. She stopped working. So from 7th grade up until I went to college, my mother collected welfare. But I'll tell you this much, even with her receiving public assistance, even with her getting financial assistance from the government, she makes sure she instilled within us a work ethic that not only showed in us going to an employment, but a work ethic that showed in how we took care of ourselves, a work ethic that shows in how we manage our community, a work ethic that shows in our schoolwork, right? Even in our schoolwork, we could not bring a certain grade in our household. So she managed us in a way because for her, she felt because of her own upbringing and the way my grandmother raised her, my mother's beliefs were just because you're poor, it doesn't mean that you have to look like you are poor. Right? And if you are able and able-bodied, you are going to work. You're gonna bring in money and you're gonna take care of yourself. My mother used to always say things like this to us. Nobody respects a man who begs for money. Now, this is a woman that, despite her situation, despite her finances, she makes sure she always instilled things in us that lets us know that we can't be lazy. Another thing my mama used to say to me was, or say to us, my brother and I, she used to say to us, get up. Came 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, she would say, get up. You're not gonna sleep in this house until the sun rises up in your ass. Excuse my French, but that was, my mother had a very dirty mouth. She would say, you're not gonna sleep all day till the sun rises up in your ass. Get up and do some work. Come on now. And every day when we had to get up, when we didn't have school on Saturday and Sunday, we had to clean the house, mop the floor, go food shopping. We was food shopping at Pathmark Supermarket at 5 o'clock in the morning. Because she used to say, I'm not going to be in no supermarket all day waiting on no lines. While these other lazy ass Negroes sleeping, we're going to get out and do some work. Get up. And we used to walk over to the Pathmark. Didn't have no car. My mother never had a car. She never had a license. All right. So that's a real woman that made us do things, made us do some things. No car, no license. And we'll be out there 5 o'clock in the morning putting all those no frills groceries. Remember no frills? Y'all remember no frills. It used to have like the white package with the black writing and it said no frills. And it would just tell you exactly what you was buying. Cornflakes, baked beans, hot dogs. Like it was really no frills. Talk about poverty. Poverty then and poverty now are two different type of poverties. But let me tell you something. That poverty then that we were in, I worked a lot more growing up in poverty then than when I see these young kids in 2018 growing up in poverty now. Our work ethics was just so different. They was just so different. So here it is. I'm reading this article and I'm like, damn. Yeah, this man is telling the truth. Dr. Hill is hitting it on the head. I remember that. I remember that. But nowadays, what do our kids have? What kind of work ethic do our kids have? I don't know about you guys, but let me tell you something. We all have our own biases, and I'm not afraid to be transparent. That's what makes Dr. Shonna, because I be transparent and be okay with it. I am my authentic self. You see, when I walk through life, I keep a certain mindset. I say to my children all the time, poverty is a mindset. That's what I say to them. Because my daughter said to me, gee, Mom, I never knew we didn't have any money until I got to college. Now, y'all know my daughter's in her third year of college, and the same college that published this article is the same college my daughter is at. She's at Columbia University. And my daughter said to me, when I meet these people that got real money, Mom, I mean like long money. They got old money, they got strong money. It makes me realize how much money we don't have. That's what my daughter says to me. And I said, and she said it to me Thanksgiving break when I was driving her back to her school. And I said to Kira, I said, you know something, Kira? Let me tell you what it is. Poverty is a mindset, and I don't have a poverty mindset. I don't care how my bank account is looking. We are all going to behave a certain way. We are going to dress a certain way. We are going to speak a certain way. We're going to make sure we read all type of literature, not just Black literature, which we read a lot of, but we're going to read white literature. We're going to read Asian literature. We're going to do these things. You're going to learn something or two. My daughter knows how to play the piano. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like, we have certain things that I did to my children with no money. With no money. Don't forget, I became a mother. I became a mother at 20 years old. I was 6 months shy of 21. So I wasn't an old mom. I'm only turning 41 in a couple of months. I was a young mom. Into that narrative of young mothers and they grow up on welfare. I never collected welfare a day in my life. A day in my life, I never collected welfare. So I don't buy into those things because my mother never raised me to have a poverty mindset. I never had a poverty mindset. But when I see the children of today, I see poverty mindsets in too many of our Black brothers and sisters. I see poverty mindsets. And then when I meet the parents, I understand why. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. Because I was raised differently. If you don't have the money, figure out how to get it legally. Because if you do something illegal, it's going to not only affect you, but it's going to affect me, your children, your aunt, your uncle, your father, your mother. Everybody gets impacted. No one does time without the family. We all do the time, right? So my mindset was so much different growing up. And I used to get picked on for that because my mother, with all her poverty, my mother didn't make a lot of money. She was on welfare. All her poverty, we never looked like it. We never spoke like it. We never behaved like it. Because she instilled in us a strong work ethic that applied to so many different areas and not just employment. Right? So he goes on and he names a third one. I'm going to come back with that in part 2. He names a fourth one and a fifth one.